Hey, I hope you've all had a great Thanksgiving break and have come back ready to learn. You should have all watched the Beaks of Finches video from yesterday, the Ed puzzle, and completed it, because now today we're going to be diving in deeper into Beaks of Finches with a lab. The instructions for today: I want you to sign in for daily attendance, and then you're going to watch the Ed puzzle demonstration for the lab day 1. You're watching it now, and fill in the lab worksheet as you go along. The lab worksheet can be found in a separate assignment in the Beaks of Finches Lab topic. So let's go ahead and open that. Now this is our final New York State required lab to gain Regents credit. So we've learned about the finches, right? And we've learned about environmental conditions act as selecting agents, right? Natural selection. Because in natural selection, organisms that have the most beneficial traits are most likely to survive, and they're more likely going to pass those good survivable traits to their offspring. Now these finches that we've talked about, they're small birds. They're found in many locations throughout the world. However, Darwin he studied them in the Galapagos Islands to the west of South America. He really noticed a great variety of beak adaptations in his studies, and this is thought due to the isolation of the islands and competition between food resources. This lab will demonstrate how animals, in this case birds, finches, are able to use their beaks as a means of survival and how they will be naturally selected and how evolution will take place. Now, I've never been to the Galapagos Islands, but even around here we observe birds with different beaks. But I had the privilege of going to Australia several years ago, and just a few pictures. I'm not really sure what this bird is. I think I heard it could be a lorikeet, but look at this beak. I saw this in a park in Sydney, and then look at a totally different kind of beak, similar. This bird was eating some kind of nut. I was just was at the bus stop and happened to notice this bird. So let's continue. The objectives. This laboratory activity, you're going to see how structural differences in the finch beaks affect survivability rates. You're going to observe competition for resources among different species of organisms, different finches, and see the role of the environment as a selecting agent. Natural selection. The materials for this lab, none. You're going to be watching what I do. It's a virtual lab. You're not going to be completing this lab, unfortunately, since you're distance learning. But the materials I'll use, and I'll show you, I'm going to use small seeds, big seeds. My small seeds, just, if you could see them, just little seeds. They're actually grass seeds. And my big seeds, they're beans. And I'm going to demonstrate 3 different beaks by using 3 different tools. So my first one of them is going to be a pair of serving tongs, that you'd use in the kitchen. We're going to simulate a beak with these. We're also going to use a pair of tweezers. They're metal, like you might use in the lab, or manicuring, and but yeah. And then the third, we're going to simulate a beak with a clothespin. For the pre-lab questions, I want you to pause the video and answer questions 1 and 2. Examine the different tools that I just showed you, the beaks and the seeds, and predict which beak will be most successful at picking up the small seeds. I want you to give reasons for your choice. And remember, complete sentences are always expected. And then I want you to answer 2. Predict which beak will be least successful in picking up small seeds. So either the tongs, the clothespin, or the tweezers. For number 3, I want to go over the finch wheel. It's how we can identify different species of finch in the Galapagos Islands and what they eat. We can start with our finch, then discover what kind of beak or bill it has, and then what it eats. Or on the regions, perhaps we might be given a question where an animal or the finch, we're given what it eats. So maybe we might be given it only eats animal food. So we would automatically know it has a probing bill and a probing edge to its beak, and it would be a warbler finch. However, in this experiment, we're going to be simulating ones that mainly eat plant foods. So you can start there and find crushing bills and crushing edge beak or biting tip beak, and you can find your different finches. So for example, there's a small, medium, and large ground finch, and they're pretty similar. They have the same characteristics. The only difference would be perhaps the large ground finch would be stronger because it has a larger beak. Okay, so from this point on, I'll be modeling the finch feeding. So the tool I'm going to use, the tool I'll use will be the beak. And I want you to describe what characteristics it has that you think will be helpful for picking up small seeds. So the tool I'm going to be using for picking up small seeds is the pair of tweezers. So go ahead and pause the video and answer that question. I think the tweezers are good to pick up small seeds because now when I get into the experiment, I'm going to be transferring seeds from a large dish to a small dish. The large disc is going to simulate the island environment, right, the Galapagos, where the birds or you live and feed. The small dish will represent the finch's stomach. I can only move one seed at a time, and only those seeds that fall into the dish are counted. In my simulation, I'll use the beak to pick up small seeds one at a time, like I said, and transfer them into the other dish. And I'm going to complete 2 trials, and each trial is going to be 25 seconds each. So let me get you set up so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I have my big dish and I have my small dish. Let's get the clock ready. Okay. Okay. And let's count how many seeds I got in trial 1. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I've got 14 seeds. I'm going to go ahead and put 14 in the chart for you. Now let's do the trial again. Empty my cup and start the 25 seconds. Okay, and I counted as I went along, and I got 15. So now I will put 15 in the number of seeds collected. I need to find my average. My average, 14 and 15 added up together, divided by 2, 14.5. And now if my species has collected an average of 13 seeds or more, I've survived. The species has survived. So, yep, and I'll put that. And this concludes the lab for today. We're going to be going on to round 2 tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Oh, and lastly, to get some class discussion going, I want each and every one of you to go to this assignment and do a public comment on it, or you can comment on somebody else's. What are your thoughts of this lab? What have you learned so far? And you can also reply to other people's comments. But remember, keep it nice, and just be nice to each other. And that's it.